The ancient ships emerged from the galactic core like nightmares given form. Vessels the size of moons, their dark hulls absorbing light itself, powered by technology that had existed when the current galaxy was young. The eternal Kethamori Empire and the Void Singers had awakened from their million-year slumber, and they were not pleased. Admiral Dong Hyun stood on the bridge of his flagship Indomitable, watching sensor displays that showed impossible readings. "Those ships are generating energy equivalent to entire star systems," reported Chief Engineer Minho, his voice filled with scientific awe and military dread. "How many?" the Admiral asked. 57 confirmed contacts, sir. Each one larger than our biggest dreadnoughts." Across human space, emergency klaxons sounded as the ancient fleets began their approach. These were not the relatively civilized council forces humanity had defeated weeks earlier. These were the galaxy's original masters. Species so old, they remembered when current stellar formations were still forming. Captain Yunji received the fleet-wide communication from Admiral Dong Hyun aboard her dreadnought Terra's Wrath. "All commanders, this is Admiral Dong Hyun. The enemy we now face is unlike anything humanity has encountered. These civilizations controlled the galaxy when our sun was young. Throughout the human fleet, crews prepared for what might be humanity's final battle. The ancient powers had awakened specifically to eliminate what they saw as a threat to galactic stability, a young species that refused to accept limitations. Sir," Tactical Coordinator Wu Jin reported, "the ancient fleets are broadcasting on all frequencies. They're demanding our immediate surrender." "What are their terms?" "Complete extinction, sir. They consider humanity too dangerous to exist." "Admiral," Dong Hyun felt a cold smile cross his face. "Then they understand us perfectly." The first engagement came at the edge of human territory, where Commander Jun Seo led a squadron of experimental fighters against a Void Singer scout ship. The alien vessel was the size of a city, its weapons capable of destroying entire fleets. "All fighters, this is Jun Seo. Remember, we're not trying to destroy that thing. We're trying to learn how it works." The human fighters dove toward the ancient ship using tactics that violated every principle of sensible space combat. Instead of maintaining safe distances, they flew directly into the enemy's weapon range, analyzing its defensive systems while dodging attacks that could vaporize them instantly. "Pattern analysis complete," reported fighter pilot Somin. "The ancient ship's weapons are incredibly powerful, but they're designed for large targets. They can't track small, fast-moving objects effectively." Jun Seo smiled grimly. "Just like fighting dinosaurs with a sword." Acknowledged. "All fighters, execute pattern Delta 7. The human fighters scattered like a swarm of angry insects, each one following a different attack vector that confused the ancient ship's targeting systems. They weren't trying to destroy the massive vessel. They were gathering intelligence for the larger battle to come. Meanwhile, Dr. Su Jin worked frantically in her research laboratory aboard the Dreadnought Scientific Method. As humanity's leading expert on alien technology, she had been analyzing fragments recovered from previous battles. The ancient powers use technology based on fundamental force manipulation, she reported to Admiral Dong Hyun. They can control gravity, electromagnetic fields, even the strong and weak nuclear forces. Can our weapons penetrate their defenses? Unknown, sir, but I have a theory. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it's also incredibly old. They've had millions of years to perfect their systems, but they may have forgotten how to adapt quickly to new threats. That theory would soon be tested. The main ancient fleet approached the heavily defended New Terra system, where Admiral Dong Hyun had concentrated his most powerful dreadnoughts. The battle began with the ancient powers, demonstrating their capabilities. A Kethamori worldship fired a weapon that caused a star to flicker, temporarily disrupting fusion reactions across an entire solar system. Void Singer vessels created artificial black holes that swallowed human defensive platforms whole. But humanity responded with tactics that the ancient civilizations had never encountered. Instead of engaging in the formal battle lines that galactic warfare had used for millennia, human ships scattered across three-dimensional space, attacking from every possible angle simultaneously. Captain Yoon-ji led her battle group in a desperate Assault on a Kethmori command ship. All weapons target their power distribution nodes. We're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to disrupt their systems. Her dreadnought's kinetic weapons struck the ancient vessel's hull with the force of relativistic meteors. The Kethmori ship's shields absorbed most of the impact, but human weapons created interference patterns that disrupted their defensive matrices. Their shields are fluctuating, reported Tactical Officer Subin. The kinetic impacts are creating resonance cascades. All ships focus fire on the shield generators, Yunji commanded. The human fleet concentrated their attacks on specific points, using precisely timed kinetic strikes to create interference patterns in the ancient shields. It was like using tuning forks to shatter crystal, primitive technology, exploiting advanced systems' own sophistication against them. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as human commanders discovered weaknesses in technology that was millions of years old. The ancient powers had optimized their systems against threats they understood, but humanity fought in ways that violated those assumptions. Commander Hyun-woo discovered that Void Singer gravity weapons could be disrupted by rapid changes in local space-time curvature. His dreadnought began firing void torpedoes not at enemy ships but at empty space around them, creating gravitational chaos that interfered with ancient targeting systems. "Sir, the enemy weapons are losing lock," reported his tactical officer. "The gravitational distortions are confusing their guidance systems." But the real breakthrough came when Dr. Su Jin made a crucial discovery about the ancient civilization's greatest weakness. "Admiral, I've analyzed their communication patterns. These species haven't fought a serious war in millions of years. They're incredibly powerful, but they've forgotten how to adapt to changing battlefield conditions." Explain. "They're using the same tactics they perfected eons ago. They haven't developed new strategies because they haven't faced serious opposition in geological time periods." Admiral Dong Hyun understood immediately. "They're fighting the last war, not this war." The tide of battle began to turn as human forces exploited their enemies' strategic inflexibility. Ancient ships that could destroy planets found themselves outmaneuvered by human vessels that changed tactics every few minutes. The climactic moment came when Captain Yoon-ji led a desperate assault on the largest Kethmori world ship. Her dreadnought Terra's Wrath dove directly toward the ancient vessel's main weapon, using its own firepower to create a pathway through the enemy's defenses. "All power to forward shields," she commanded, as energy that could ignite stars washed over her ship. "Fire all void torpedoes directly at their primary reactor." The ancient ship's shields finally collapsed under the sustained assault from dozens of human dreadnoughts. For the first time in millions of years, a Kethmori world ship was destroyed in combat. The psychological impact on the ancient fleets was devastating. Species that had considered themselves invincible suddenly faced their own mortality. Ancient commanders who had fought when the galaxy was young discovered that age was not the same as wisdom. "Admiral," reported Communications Officer Kangmin, "we're receiving surrender requests from several ancient vessels." "Terms?" Admiral Dong Hyun asked. "They're offering to withdraw to the Galactic Core and never interfere with human affairs." Again. Denied. "Tell them that any species that threatens human extinction forfeits their right to negotiate." The final phase of the battle was swift and decisive. Human forces, now supported by dozens of younger alien species who had joined the fight against ancient tyranny, systematically destroyed or disabled the remaining ancient ships. The galaxy watched in amazement as civilizations millions of years old retreated in defeat, their fleets broken by humans who had only reached space a few centuries earlier. In the aftermath, the political transformation was immediate and permanent. The Galactic Council dissolved as member species scrambled to negotiate individual relationships with humanity. Ancient trade agreements collapsed as new alliances formed around human technological and military superiority. 2 years later, Ambassador Iwao Taemin stood in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly building on New Geneva, Earth's diplomatic capital. The massive chamber housed representatives from over 300 species, including many who had previously supported human subjugation. "The Galactic Assembly recognizes the sovereign rights of all member species," he announced to the gathered delegates. "No species shall be subject to ultimatums based on age, technology level, or expansion rate. In the audience, former Overlord Crixmoth sat quietly among the Velthari delegation. His species had been among the first to seek peaceful relations with humanity after the defeat of the ancient powers. President Jae-hyun delivered the closing address to the Assembly's first session. The galaxy is vast enough for all species that choose growth over stagnation, cooperation over domination, freedom over. The massive alien ship hung in space like a silver mountain. Ambassador Kethmore stood on the bridge looking down at the small blue planet below. Earth. Another primitive world to add to the Veltar Empire's collection. "Sir, the humans are requesting permission to board," said his aide, checking the communication display. Kethmore nodded slowly. 3,000 years of galactic dominance had taught the Veltar one simple truth. Control the warp drives, control the galaxy. No species had ever figured out how their faster-than-light technology worked. The quantum encryption alone would take most civilizations centuries to crack. The human shuttle docked with a soft thump. Kethmore watched as the airlock cycled open. The first human stepped through, a tall man with dark hair and calm eyes. "Ambassador Kethmore," the human said, bowing slightly. "I am Lee Do-yun, representing Earth's United Government. Thank you for this historic meeting." Behind Lee Do-yun came other humans. Park Min-ho, their chief engineer, carried what looked like a primitive data pad. The others introduced themselves politely. Kethmore noticed they all seemed very interested in the Veltar ship's interior, though they tried to hide it. "Your vessel is incredible," Park Min-ho said, looking around the bridge. "We've never seen anything like it." Kethmore felt satisfied. The proper reaction from a primitive species. "Our technology is beyond your current understanding. Perhaps in 500 years, your people might develop something similar." Lee Do-yun smiled. "We're always eager to learn. Your journey here must have been very fast." "Indeed. Our warp drives allow us to cross vast distances in mere hours. What would take you centuries, we accomplish in days." The humans exchanged glances. Kethmore noticed but thought nothing of it. Primitive species often showed excitement when confronted with superior technology. Kimnari stepped forward from where she'd been watching. Born human but raised by the Veltar since childhood, she served as their expert on human behavior. Something about these Earth humans bothered her, though she couldn't say what. "Tell us about your own achievements," Kethmore said, settling into his command chair. "What has Earth accomplished?" Lee Do-yun gestured to Park Min-ho, who activated his data pad. Holographic images filled the air, fusion reactors, quantum computers, sleek spacecraft with conventional engines. "Impressive for your level," Kethmore admitted. "Your fusion technology shows promise. Your computers are adequate. But I see you still use chemical and ion propulsion for space travel. We've made some progress in theoretical faster-than-light physics," said a human woman who'd been introduced as Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun. "But we lack practical applications." Kethmore chuckled. "Theory and practice are very different things. The secrets of warp technology are not easily discovered." The formal tour continued. The humans asked many questions about Veltar culture, history, and achievements. They seemed particularly interested in trade possibilities and diplomatic relations. Exactly what Kethmore expected from a species eager to join the galactic community. Choi Ji-won, the Veltar xenobiologist, studied the humans with growing curiosity. She'd researched Earth's history before the mission. These humans had gone from primitive flying machines to fusion rockets in less than a century. That was unusually fast development. "Your species advances quickly," she mentioned to Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun during a break in the formal presentations. "Necessity drives innovation," the human replied. "When we need to solve a problem, we find a way. Most species take millennia to develop what you've achieved in decades." Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun smiled. "Maybe we think differently about problems." As the day wore on, the humans made their presentations about Earth's culture, resources, and scientific capabilities. They were clearly intelligent, but Kethmore saw nothing that suggested they posed any threat to Veltar supremacy. Near the end of the meetings, Lee Do-yun made an unusual request. Ambassador, we know this might sound strange, but could our engineers take a brief look at one of your shuttles? For our historical records, this is humanity's first contact with an advanced civilization. Future generations will want to know what we saw. Kethmore considered this. The shuttle's hull would reveal nothing important. The real technology was all internal, protected by quantum locks and self-destruct systems. Very well. You may observe from a safe distance, but no direct contact with the vessel. Of course, we understand. They moved to the shuttle bay where a sleek Veltar craft waited. The humans maintained the requested distance of 50 meters, but Kethmore noticed they were very focused. Park Minho held some kind of recording device. Others took notes on their datapads. Kim Nari watched the human teamwork. Something felt wrong. Their movements seemed too coordinated, like they were following a plan. One of them, a young man named Han Jae-hyun, kept adjusting a small device that looked like an atmospheric scanner. Fascinating design, Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun commented. The hull configuration must be optimized for warp field generation. You cannot determine our drive system from external observation, Kethmore replied confidently. Of course not. We're just admiring the craftsmanship. But Choi Ji-won noticed that Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun's eyes weren't just admiring the hull. She was studying it with intense concentration, like she was trying to solve a puzzle. The observation session ended after an hour. The humans thanked their hosts and prepared to return to Earth. As they gathered near the shuttle bay, Kethmore decided to make one final demonstration of Veltar superiority. Before you leave, he announced, perhaps you would like to witness our warp technology in action. Nothing dangerous, just a short demonstration jump to show you what true faster-than-light travel looks like. The humans looked excited. That would be incredible, Lee Do-yeon said. If it's not too much trouble. No trouble at all. Choi Ji-won felt uneasy. Sir, is that wise? We know very little about human sensor capabilities. What could they possibly learn from watching us jump? Kethmore waved away her concerns. It will help them understand the vast gap between our civilizations. The demonstration ship, a small Veltar scout vessel, moved to a safe distance from both ships. The humans watched from the main viewing deck, their instruments focused on the empty space around the scout ship. Warp field generation beginning, announced the scout pilot over the communication system. Space around the small ship began to shimmer. Reality twisted as the vessel's warp drive carved a path through higher dimensions. The humans watched in apparent awe as the scout ship stretched, compressed, and suddenly vanished into warp space. Magnificent, Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun whispered. That ship is now traveling at roughly 1,000 times the speed of light, Kethmore explained proudly. It will reach the nearest star system in minutes and return within the hour. The humans asked many questions about what they'd witnessed. How fast could Veltar ships travel? How far could they go on a single jump? What were the limitations of the technology? Kethmore answered freely, enjoying their obvious amazement. These questions proved how far beyond human understanding warp technology remained. When the scout ship returned and docked, the humans prepared to depart. They thanked Kethmore repeatedly for the incredible demonstration and promised that Earth would never forget this historic day. As the human shuttle pulled away from the Veltar ship, Kim Nari watched it go. Something still bothered her about the human team, but she couldn't identify what. On the shuttle, Lee Do-yeon looked at his colleagues. Park Minho was reviewing his recordings. Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun studied data on her pad. Han Jae-hyun checked his sensor readings one more time. Well? Lee Do-yeon asked quietly. Park Minho looked up with a slight smile. We got everything. Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun nodded. The quantum field patterns are clear. Drive signatures, dimensional fold characteristics, power distribution. It's all here. How long do you think we'll need? Lee Do-yeon asked. To understand it, a few weeks, Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun replied. To build our own version? That's the interesting question. The human shuttle continued toward Earth, carrying with it the most valuable intelligence in galactic history. Behind them, the Veltar remained, confident in their eternal technological superiority, completely unaware that their 3,000-year monopoly had just ended. Ambassador Kethamore filed his report that evening. Another successful first contact with a primitive species. Earth would make a useful addition to the Empire's client states. The humans seemed appropriately awed by Veltar technology and would undoubtedly spend centuries trying to understand what they'd witnessed. He had no idea how wrong he was. 3 days after first contact, Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun sat in her laboratory deep beneath Seoul, staring at readings that made her heart race. The data Han Jae-hyun's sensors had captured during the Veltar demonstration was incredible, and completely different from what anyone expected. The field patterns are elegant but not complex, she murmured to herself, running the analysis again. It's like they're using a sledgehammer where a scalpel would work better. Park Min-ho entered the lab carrying coffee and looking tired. Neither of them had slept much since returning from the Veltar ship. Any progress? He asked, setting down the coffee. More than progress. I think we understand the basic principles. Yoon Seo-hyun pulled up a 3-dimensional display showing the warp field data. Look at this. The Veltar create a stable bubble around their ship, then push it through folded space, but they're using enormous amounts of energy to maintain that stability. Park Min-ho studied the display. As Earth's chief engineer for the contact mission, he understood spacecraft systems better than most people. What's the alternative? Dynamic field management. Instead of fighting the chaos of folded space, we ride it. Let the field fluctuate and adapt in real time. Yoon Seo-hyun highlighted sections of the data. It would require much less exotic matter and far less energy. But how do you control an unstable field? Well, that's the challenge. We'd need computing power the Veltar probably don't have. Their approach avoids the control problem by brute force. Meanwhile, on the Veltar ship still orbiting Earth, Kim Nari filed her daily intelligence report. Something continued to bother her about the human delegation, but she struggled to identify what. The humans had acted exactly as expected for a primitive species encountering superior technology. They'd been impressed, asked appropriate questions, and shown proper respect. Yet something felt calculated about their responses. Perhaps I'm being paranoid, she told herself, but her training said otherwise. Ambassador Kethamore had extended their stay around Earth by several days to establish preliminary trade agreements. The humans offered various resources, rare metals, manufactured goods, even cultural exchanges, all normal for first contact protocols. What struck Kim Nari as odd were the questions the humans didn't ask. Most species wanted to know about Veltar military strength, territorial claims, or imperial policies. The humans seemed more interested in theoretical discussions about faster-than-light physics. During their second meeting, Lee Do-yeon asked about the history of warp technology development. How long did it take your people to perfect these drives? He inquired politely. Several millennia of gradual advancement, Kethamore replied proudly. Each generation building upon the work of those before. Fascinating. Were there any breakthrough moments, or was it steady progress? Kethamore launched into a lengthy explanation of Veltar scientific achievements. Kim Nari noticed that Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun listened intently to every detail, occasionally asking follow-up questions that demonstrated surprising theoretical knowledge. After the meeting, Kim Nari approached Choi Ji-won privately. Something bothers me about these humans, she said. What specifically? Choi Ji-won asked. The xenobiologist had been studying human behavior patterns since their arrival. Their questions are too focused. Most species ask about politics, territory, military matters. These humans keep steering conversations toward theoretical physics and engineering principles. Choi Ji-won nodded slowly. I've noticed that too. Also, their technological development timeline is unusual. Most species take tens of thousands of years to reach their current level. Humans did it in centuries. You think they're more capable than they appear? I think we should be cautious about underestimating them. But when Choi Ji-won raised these concerns with Ambassador Kethamore, he dismissed them. Impossible, he stated firmly. We've monitored their electromagnetic emissions. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They have no understanding of quantum field manipulation or dimensional physics. Sir, their questions suggest otherwise. Curiosity is not capability. They're asking because they don't understand, not because they do. Back on Earth, the analysis continued at an unprecedented pace. Dr. Song Wanho, Earth's leading theoretical physicist, joined the team after being briefed on the situation. His first words after reviewing the data were unprintable. "This changes everything we thought we knew about space-time manipulation," he said once he'd composed himself. "Can we build our own version?" Lee Doyun asked during a secure video conference. "The theory, yes. The engineering..." Song Wanho paused. "We'd need new materials, new manufacturing techniques, and computing systems that don't exist yet." "How long for the computing systems?" asked Nam Hyeji, who'd been brought in to work on quantum mechanics applications. "If we dedicate everything to it, 6 months for basic capability, maybe a year for something reliable." "What about materials?" Park Min-ho asked. Kang Tai-ho, the materials engineer, had been running simulations for days. "We can't duplicate their exotic matter, but we don't need to. Our approach requires different materials entirely, things we can manufacture with current technology, just pushed to extreme precision." Lee Do-yun leaned back in his chair. "So we're talking about a crash program. Total commitment of resources." "More than that," Yoon Seo-hyun interjected. "We're talking about reinventing warp physics from first principles. The Veltar approach works, but it's not the only way. The decision was made at the highest levels of Earth's government. Humanity would attempt to reverse engineer and improve upon technology that had dominated the galaxy for thousands of years. The project would be classified beyond top secret. Over the following weeks, while the Veltar delegation remained in orbit establishing formal diplomatic relations, Earth's greatest minds worked in complete secrecy. Old research facilities were converted overnight. New manufacturing equipment was built and installed. The most advanced quantum computers on the HFY planet were quietly reassigned to the project. Oh Soo-young, a linguistics expert, made an unexpected contribution. By analyzing every casual comment made by the Veltar delegation, she built a database of technical terminology that revealed gaps in Veltar engineering knowledge. "They don't have words for dynamic field harmonics," she reported. "Their language treats warp fields as static constructs." "That confirms our approach," Song Wanho replied. "They've never considered real-time field manipulation because their computing technology can't handle it." Meanwhile, Han Jae-hyun worked on refining the sensor data from the demonstration. His background in intelligence gathering proved invaluable, as he extracted details from the recordings that pure scientists might have missed. "The power distribution isn't even across their drive system," he discovered. "There are inefficiencies they're compensating for with brute force." As Earth's crash program accelerated, Kim Nari's suspicions grew stronger. She detected increased activity around certain human research facilities, though orbital scans revealed nothing obviously suspicious. "They're building something," she told Choi Ji-won. "Building what?" "I don't know. But their industrial activity has increased dramatically since our demonstration." Choi Ji-won studied the intelligence reports. "Could they be trying to reverse engineer our technology?" "Impossible. Even if they understood the principles, they lack the industrial capability to build a warp drive." But both aliens felt increasingly uneasy about the human behavior patterns they observed. The humans remained polite and cooperative in all official meetings. But there was an undercurrent of excitement that seemed out of proportion to normal diplomatic progress. Dr. Bae Junho, Earth's expert in artificial intelligence systems, made the breakthrough that would enable humanity's approach to warp technology. His team developed adaptive control algorithms that could manage thousands of simultaneous field adjustments in real time. "It's like the difference between balancing a stick on your finger and keeping it perfectly rigid," he explained to the project team. "The Veltar approach is rigid control. Ours is adaptive balance." Lee Min-seo, the project's security coordinator, ensured that no trace of their activities reached Veltar sensors. The work was distributed across dozens of facilities, with each team knowing only their small piece of the larger puzzle. By the end of the month, Earth had not only understood Veltar warp technology, but had designed an entirely new approach that promised to be faster, more efficient, and easier to manufacture. The aliens remained completely unaware of what was happening on the planet below. Ambassador Kethmore was pleased with the diplomatic progress and looked forward to adding Earth to the Veltar Empire's sphere of influence. In her final intelligence report before the delegation's scheduled departure, Kim Nari noted her ongoing concerns about unusual human activity. But lacking concrete evidence of any threat, she could only recommend continued monitoring of Earth's technological development. She had no idea that humanity was already preparing to build their first warp drive, using principles the Veltar had never considered and methods that would revolutionize galactic civilization. The exchange of knowledge was complete, though only one side realized it had happened. 2 weeks after the Veltar delegation departed Earth, Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun stood before a massive holographic display in the most secure laboratory complex on the planet. The display showed her team's complete analysis of alien warp technology, and what she saw there made her smile with satisfaction. "We've cracked it completely," she announced to the assembled scientists and engineers. "Not just how it works, but why it works the way it does, and how we can do it better." Park Min-ho leaned forward in his chair, studying the complex equations floating in the air. "Walk us through it," Yoon Seo-hyun gestured, and the display shifted to show the fundamental structure of a Veltar warp field. "The aliens use what I call the fortress approach. They build an incredibly stable bubble around their ship, then push that bubble through folded space-time. It requires enormous amounts of exotic matter and energy, but it's very safe and predictable." Heiji, the quantum mechanics specialist, pointed to specific field equations. "Those stability requirements explain why their drives are so massive and energy-intensive." "Exactly. But look at this." The display changed to show human theoretical models. "We don't need fortress-level stability if we can adapt to space-time fluctuations in real time. Instead of fighting the chaos of folded dimensions, we surf it." Dr. Song Won-ho studied the new equations with growing excitement. "This approach would require a fraction of the exotic matter they use." "Better than that," Yoon Seo-hyun replied. "We might not need exotic matter at all. Kang Taeho's materials analysis suggests we can achieve similar effects with metamaterials and precisely controlled electromagnetic fields." Kang Taeho activated his portion of the presentation. "The Veltar use rare elements that exist naturally in only a few star systems. That's probably why they've maintained their monopoly. They control the resource supply. Our approach uses materials we can manufacture on Earth." The implications hit everyone in the room simultaneously. Not only could humanity build warp drives, they could mass-produce them using readily available materials. Lee Min-seo, the project security coordinator, raised a practical concern. "How long until we can build a working prototype?" "That depends on our computing capabilities," Dr. Bae Junho interjected. "The dynamic field control requires processing power beyond anything currently available. We need AI systems that can make thousands of adjustments per second." "How long?" Lee Min-seo repeated. 6 months for the AI architecture, another 3 months for hardware integration and testing." Dr. Song Won-ho looked thoughtful. "What about a simpler approach for the first test? Reduced capability but faster implementation?" Yoon Seo-hyun considered this. "We could build a basic version in 2 months. Lower top speed, shorter range, but it would prove the concept works." Meanwhile, light years away, the Veltar continued their journey home with complete confidence in their technological superiority. Ambassador Kethmore had filed glowing reports about Earth's primitive but promising civilization. In perhaps 5 centuries, the humans might develop technology worthy of Veltar attention. Kim Nari remained troubled by lingering doubts, but she had no concrete evidence to support her concerns. Her final intelligence assessment rated Earth as a low-priority world with negligible technological threat potential. Back on Earth, the analysis phase entered its final stages. Oh Soo-young's linguistic work had revealed fascinating insights into Veltar technological limitations. "Their technical vocabulary lacks terms for real-time adaptation," she reported. Everything in their language treats warp fields as static constructs. They literally don't have words for what we're trying to do. That suggests they've never considered our approach, Song Wanho observed. Their entire technological development followed a different path. Han Jae-hyun's detailed sensor analysis provided the final pieces of the puzzle. I've identified 12 specific inefficiencies in their drive system. They're using brute force to overcome problems that elegant engineering could solve. The breakthrough came when the teams integrated all their discoveries into a unified theory. Human warp technology wouldn't just copy Veltar methods, it would represent a fundamentally different approach to faster-than-light travel. Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun presented the complete analysis to Earth's leadership via secure video conference. Prime Minister Chen listened intently as she explained humanity's path to warp capability. So we're not stealing their technology, Chen clarified. We're inventing our own based on understanding their approach. That's correct. We learned the basic principles from observation, but our implementation is entirely original. And you believe our version will be superior? In several ways, yes. Faster, more efficient, easier to manufacture, and potentially more versatile in application. The decision was unanimous. Earth would proceed with building humanity's first warp drive. Construction began immediately at facilities across the globe. The project operated under multiple cover stories: experimental fusion reactors, advanced materials research, quantum computing development. Each element was technically true, just not complete. Lee Min-seo coordinated security with military precision. Compartmentalization is absolute, she told department heads. No single facility has enough information to understand the complete project. Only the core team knows we're building a warp drive. The challenges were enormous. Kang Tae-ho's team had to manufacture metamaterials with atomic-level precision. Dr. Bae Junho's AI systems required quantum processors that pushed computing technology to its limits. Park Min-ho coordinated the integration of thousands of components that had never been combined before. Dr. Song Wanho worked on the theoretical framework that would guide field generation. Unlike Veltar technology, which used pre-calculated field patterns, the human drive would calculate optimal field configurations in real time based on local space-time conditions. It's like the difference between following a map and having GPS, he explained to his team. The Veltar approach works, but it can't adapt to unexpected conditions. Nam Hyeji tackled the quantum mechanics of dynamic field interaction. Her equations described how human warp fields would constantly shift and adapt, maintaining forward momentum while adjusting to space-time turbulence. The math is beautiful, she told colleagues. Instead of imposing our will on reality, we're finding harmony with it. As construction progressed, security became increasingly challenging. The industrial activity required for building a warp drive was enormous, even with advanced manufacturing techniques. Lee Min-seo worried about detection by Veltar monitoring systems. They're not actively watching us, Han Jae-hyun assured her. Their intelligence assessment rated Earth as technologically primitive. They won't be looking for signs of warp drive construction. The assumption proved correct. Veltar sensor networks detected increased human industrial activity, but attributed it to normal economic development following first contact. Their intelligence analysts noted the activity, but assigned it low priority. The first major milestone came when Dr. Bae Junho's team achieved successful AI control of a small-scale field generator. The system managed to maintain a stable micro-warp field for 30 seconds, longer than theoretical models had predicted possible. The AI is actually learning, Bae Junho reported excitedly. It's developing control strategies we never programmed. The system is teaching itself how to manage dynamic fields. Kang Tae-ho's materials team achieved their breakthrough shortly afterward. The new metamaterials not only met design specifications but exceeded them. The synthetic structures could channel electromagnetic fields with precision. The Veltar exotic matter couldn't match. We're not just matching their performance, he told the project team. We're surpassing it. The integration phase proved most challenging. Combining theoretical physics, advanced materials, quantum computing, and artificial intelligence into a working drive system required coordination between dozens of teams. Park Min-ho worked 18-hour days managing the technical integration. Every system has to work perfectly with every other system, he explained to exhausted engineers. There's no backup plan. Either everything works together, or nothing works at all. Dr. Song Won-ho provided theoretical guidance as unexpected problems arose. The dynamic nature of human warp field generation created interactions no one had predicted. The AI systems had to learn not just how to control the fields, but how to predict their behavior. We're not just building technology, he observed. We're creating a new relationship between consciousness and space-time. As the prototype neared completion, excitement built throughout the secret project. Humanity stood on the verge of achieving faster-than-light travel through their own ingenuity, using principles no other species had discovered. The final analysis phase concluded with comprehensive testing of all subsystems. Every component met or exceeded specifications. The theoretical models predicted successful warp field generation. The AI systems demonstrated reliable control capabilities. Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun stood once again before the holographic display, but now it showed a complete human warp drive ready for testing. The elegant curves of the field generators, the precise alignment of metamaterial channels, the quantum processors humming with artificial intelligence, all of it represented humanity's leap into the galactic community. We're ready, she announced to the assembled team. Time to see if theory becomes reality. The analysis phase was complete. Soon, the construction facility hidden beneath the Australian outback hummed with activity 24 hours a day. Lee Min-seo walked through the main assembly hall, watching. Hundreds of technicians work on humanity's most ambitious project. The HSV Pioneer sat in the center of the vast space, looking like a sleek fusion of human engineering and revolutionary physics. Status report, she said into her communicator. Park. Min-ho's voice crackled back from somewhere deep in the ship's engine section. Drive core installation is 90% complete. We're running final alignment checks on the field generators. The ship itself was a marvel of human engineering. Based on their fastest exploration vessel design, it had been completely rebuilt around the new warp drive system. Every component was optimized for the dynamic field generation that made human faster-than-light travel possible. Captain John Da-hyun stood on the bridge, reviewing system specifications with her hand-picked crew. She'd volunteered for the mission, knowing it might be a one-way trip. If the human warp drive failed catastrophically, there might not be enough pieces left to analyze. Nervous? Asked her first officer, Lieutenant Commander Yim Seon-ho. Excited, Da-hyun replied honestly. We're about to become the first humans to travel faster than light using our own technology. That's worth any risk. In the engine room, Dr. Bae Jun-ho made final adjustments to the artificial intelligence system that would control the warp fields. Unlike Veltar drives that followed pre-programmed patterns, the human system required constant real-time decision-making. The SUT AI is running beautifully, he reported to Park Min-ho. Response time is under 1 millisecond for field adjustments. The learning algorithms are already optimizing control patterns based on theoretical scenarios. The drive core itself was a masterpiece of human innovation. Where Veltar technology used massive exotic matter containment systems, the human drive employed precisely shaped metamaterial arrays that could channel electromagnetic fields with incredible precision. Kang Tae-ho inspected each component personally. Tolerances are within acceptable ranges, he announced. The metamaterials are performing better than our best projections. Field channel efficiency is actually 12% higher than design specifications. Dr. Song Won-ho worked in the ship's physics lab, monitoring the theoretical models that predicted drive performance. The equations describing human warp technology were elegant in their complexity. Thousands of variables constantly balancing to maintain forward momentum through folded space-time. The mathematics are beautiful, he murmured to his assistant. We're not fighting physics, we're dancing with it. Nam Hyeji coordinated the quantum systems integration from her position in the ship's computer core. The quantum processors that enabled real-time field control represented the bleeding edge of human technology, pushed far beyond normal operating parameters. Quantum coherence is stable, she reported. Processing throughput exceeds requirements by 30%. The system can handle much more complex field patterns than we originally planned. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers away, a parallel construction effort proceeded in complete secrecy. Earth's industrial capacity had been quietly redirected toward warp drive production. The prototype in Australia was just the first of many. Oh Soo-young worked in a different kind of laboratory, analyzing every piece of Veltar communication intercepted during their visit. Her linguistic analysis continued to reveal insights into alien technological limitations. Their language has 17 different words for stable field configuration, but none for adaptive field management, she reported during a secure video conference. This confirms they've never considered our approach. Han Jae-hyun had moved from sensor analysis to security monitoring. His job was to ensure that no trace of the warp drive project reached Veltar attention. So far, the aliens showed no interest in Earth beyond routine diplomatic monitoring. They're treating us like a standard primitive contact, he reported to Lee Min-seo. No enhanced surveillance, no technology assessment teams. They have no idea what we're doing. The construction proceeded with remarkable speed. Human manufacturing techniques, optimized over centuries of industrial development, proved ideal for warp drive production. Where the Veltar required rare materials and specialized facilities, humans used adaptable systems and readily available resources. Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun divided her time between theoretical refinements and practical construction oversight. The prototype drive was performing better than her original calculations predicted, opening possibilities for enhanced capabilities. We could push the field generators harder, she told Park Min-ho during a design review meeting. The metamaterials can handle increased power levels. What would that give us? Higher top speed and better field stability. We might achieve warp factors the Veltar consider impossible. The ship's crew trained relentlessly for humanity's first warp flight. Captain Da-yoon insisted on complete preparation despite the experimental nature of their mission. We don't know what we'll encounter in warp space, she told her officers. Our technology is different from anything that's been tried before. We need to be ready for anything. Dr. Bae Junho's AI systems proved particularly fascinating during testing. The artificial intelligence was learning to manage warp fields with increasing sophistication, developing control strategies that surprised even its programmers. The AI is thinking in ways we didn't teach it, he reported during a technical briefing. It's finding optimization patterns that our best theorists missed. The dynamic nature of human warp technology required split-second decision-making that biological brains simply couldn't handle. The AI had to balance thousands of field variables simultaneously, making adjustments faster than any organic intelligence could process. As construction neared completion, the security challenges intensified. The industrial activity required for warp drive production was becoming increasingly difficult to hide under conventional cover stories. Lee Min-seo implemented additional security measures. We're entering the highest risk phase, she warned project leaders. Discovery now would compromise everything. The Veltar remained blissfully unaware of human activities. Their intelligence networks detected increased industrial production on Earth but attributed it to normal post-contact economic development. The idea that humans might be building faster-than-light technology never occurred to their analysts. Ambassador Kethmore had filed his final report on Earth, rating the planet as a useful but unremarkable addition to Veltar influence. His recommendation was to establish basic trade relations and monitor human development over the next few centuries. Back on Earth, the Pioneer neared readiness for its historic test flight. Every system had been tested and retested. The crew had trained for every conceivable scenario. The theoretical models predicted successful warp field generation. Park Min-ho stood in the engine room, looking at the completed warp core. The elegant curves of the field generators, the precisely aligned metamaterial arrays, the quantum processors humming with artificial intelligence, all of it represented humanity's boldest leap into the unknown. Final systems check, he announced over the ship's communication system. Reports came back from every department. Navigation systems operational, life support nominal, quantum processors running optimally, AI systems ready for field control. Drive core prepared for activation. Captain Dahyun took her position on the bridge. Around her, the crew prepared for a journey that would either make history or end in catastrophic failure. The stakes couldn't be higher, not just for the Pioneer, but for humanity's future among the stars. Dr. Song Won-ho made last-minute calculations from his physics station. Theoretical models predict successful field generation, he reported. All parameters are within acceptable ranges. Nam Hyeji monitored the quantum systems that would enable real-time field control. Quantum coherence is stable. Processing power is available for maximum field complexity. Dr. Bae Junho checked his AI systems one final time. Artificial intelligence is ready for warp field management. Learning algorithms are optimized for unknown conditions. The construction phase was complete. Months of unprecedented engineering effort had produced humanity's first faster-than-light spacecraft. The revolutionary technology represented not just reverse engineering of Veltar capabilities, but a fundamentally new approach to warp travel. Where the aliens used brute force and exotic materials, humans employed precision and adaptation. Where Veltar drives followed rigid patterns, human technology embraced dynamic flexibility. The differences went beyond engineering. They represented completely different philosophies about the relationship between intelligence and physics. Lee Min-seo gave the final authorization from her security command center. All departments report ready. Pioneer is cleared for warp drive testing. Captain Dayun looked around her bridge at the crew that would make history. Take us out of the construction facility. Time to see if our revolutionary technology actually works. The Pioneer moved slowly through the facility's massive doors into the Australian night. Above them, stars twinkled with the promise of destinations that would soon be within humanity's reach. The building phase was over. The real test was about to begin. In space, the Pioneer Choi Ji-won was running routine sensor sweeps from her laboratory aboard the Veltar research vessel Eternal Seeker when she detected something that made her freeze in disbelief. The quantum signature appearing on her instruments was impossible, faster than light travel, but completely unlike any Veltar drive system. Computer, analyze warp signature and compare to database, she commanded. Unknown configuration, the ship's AI replied. Quantum field pattern does not match any recorded faster-than-light technology. Choi Ji-won stared at the readings. The signature was definitely warp travel, but the field structure was chaotic, constantly shifting, unlike the stable bubble patterns used by all known civilizations. What species could have developed such radically different technology? Her blood turned cold as she realized the signature's origin point. Earth. Emergency communication to Ambassador Kethmore, she ordered. Priority Alpha. Kethmore's image appeared on her screen minutes later, looking annoyed at being disturbed during his sleep cycle. This had better be important, Choi Ji-won. Sir, I've detected a warp signature originating from the Sol system. Unknown configuration, definitely faster than light travel. The ambassador's expression shifted from annoyance to disbelief. Impossible. The humans lack any understanding of warp physics. Your sensors must be malfunctioning. I've run diagnostics twice. The readings are accurate. Choi Ji-won transmitted her data. Look at the quantum field patterns yourself. Kethmore studied the information with growing alarm. The signature was unmistakably faster than light travel, but the field dynamics were completely alien. No species in Veltar records had ever developed such technology. Could another empire have made contact with Earth? He asked. The signature doesn't match any known technology. This appears to be an entirely new approach to warp field generation. New approach? Kethmore's voice carried dangerous undertones. Are you suggesting the humans developed this themselves? The timeline suggests that possibility. The signature appeared exactly 47 days after our demonstration of warp technology. The implications hit both aliens simultaneously. If humans had somehow reverse-engineered and improved upon Veltar technology in less than 2 months, everything they thought they knew about galactic civilization was wrong. Set course for Earth, Kethmore ordered. Maximum warp. We need to Investigate this immediately. On Earth, the HSV Pioneer had just completed its third successful warp test. Captain John Da-hyun stood on the bridge reviewing performance data with barely contained excitement. Warp factor achieved was 1.15 times baseline, reported Dr. Song Wonho from his physics station. That's 15% faster than the Veltar demonstration speed. Drive efficiency exceeded projections by 23%, added Dr. Bai Junho. The AI systems are learning and improving with each jump. Park Min-ho's voice came through the communication system from the engine room. All systems nominal. The metamaterial arrays are handling the stress better than designed. We could push the drive harder if needed. The success of the warp tests had exceeded everyone's expectations. Not only did human technology work, it was demonstrably superior to Veltar methods in multiple ways. The dynamic field management approach was proving more versatile and efficient than rigid bubble generation. How many more test runs do we need? Captain Da-hyun asked. Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun consulted her datapad. The drive system is performing flawlessly. I'd recommend 2 more tests at higher power levels, then we'll be ready for extended range trials. Meanwhile, Kim Nari had been growing, increasingly suspicious of human activities since the Veltar delegation's return to Earth orbit. The industrial patterns she'd observed suggested major construction projects, but orbital scans revealed nothing obvious. When Choi Ji-won's emergency communication reached their ship, Kim Nari felt sick. Her worst fears were being confirmed. The humans were planning this from the beginning, she told Ambassador Kethmore during an emergency briefing. Their questions during our visit, their focused interest in warp technology, the increased industrial activity afterward, it was all part of a coordinated effort. You're suggesting they deceived us deliberately? I'm suggesting we underestimated their capabilities catastrophically. The Veltar ship Eternal Seeker dropped out of warp near Earth 3 days later. Kethmore's first act was to demand an immediate meeting with human leadership. His message was transmitted with barely controlled fury. Lee Do-yoon received the communication in his office in Geneva. The Veltar ambassador's tone made it clear that humanity's secret was no longer secret. They know, he told the emergency council session called to address the crisis. The question is, how we respond. Denial? Suggested the defense minister. Impossible. They have sensor readings that prove we achieved faster than light travel. Then we tell them the truth, said Prime Minister Chen firmly. We learned from their demonstration and developed our own technology. Lee Do-yoon nodded. I recommend full disclosure. Show them what we've accomplished. Let them see that human innovation isn't a threat to galactic stability. The meeting was arranged for the following day aboard the Veltar vessel. Lee Do-hyun, accompanied by Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun and Park Min-ho, transported to the alien ship to face whatever consequences awaited them. Ambassador Kethmore met them in the conference room, with barely restrained hostility. Kim Nari and Choi Ji-won flanked him, their expressions grim. Explain, Kethmore demanded without preamble. How did a primitive species develop faster than light technology in less than 2 months? Lee Do-hyun met the alien's gaze calmly. We observed your demonstration. We analyzed the principles involved. We developed our own approach to the problem. Impossible. Our warp technology is protected by quantum encryption and self-destruct systems. You could not have learned our secrets. We didn't steal your secrets, Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun interjected. We understood the principles and invented our own solution. Kethmore's expression shifted to disbelief. Your own solution? Our technology is completely different from yours. Would you like to see it? The offer caught the Veltar delegation off guard. Instead of hiding their achievement, the humans were volunteering to share it. You would show us your drive system? Kim Nari asked suspiciously. Of course, Park Min-ho replied. Scientific knowledge should be shared, not hoarded. The confidence in the human voices was unnerving. They weren't acting like a species caught in deception. They were acting like proud inventors showing off their latest creation. An hour later, the Veltar delegation stood in the Pioneer's engine room, staring at technology that challenged everything. They thought they knew about faster-than-light travel. Dr. Bae Junho explained the dynamic field generation system. Instead of creating a stable bubble, We let the field fluctuate and adapt in real time. The AI systems manage thousands of adjustments per second. Choi Ji-won studied the metamaterial arrays with growing amazement. These aren't exotic matter, constructs. What materials are you using? Synthetic metamaterials manufactured on Earth, Kang Tae-ho replied. We don't need rare elements. Everything can be produced using standard industrial processes. The implications were staggering. Not only had humans developed functional warp technology, they'd done it using commonly available materials and methods that could be easily mass-produced. Kim Nari examined the AI systems with professional interest. Your control algorithms are incredibly sophisticated. How do you maintain field coherence during chaotic fluctuations? We don't fight the chaos, Dr. Song Won-ho explained. We work with it. The AI learns to predict and ride the fluctuations, rather than suppress them. Ambassador Kethamore remained silent throughout the technical explanations, but his expression grew increasingly troubled. This wasn't stolen Veltar technology modified by clever primitives. This was genuinely revolutionary science that approached faster than light travel from a completely different direction. Demonstrate the drive, he finally ordered. Captain Da-hyun nodded to her crew. Prepare for warp jump. Destination, asteroid. Field at grid reference 77 Alpha. The Pioneer's warp drive activated with none of the dramatic buildup characteristic of Veltar technology. Space around the ship simply shifted. Reality folded, compressed, and suddenly they were elsewhere. Jump completed, reported the navigation officer. Travel time 4.7 seconds, distance covered 12 light minutes. Kethamore checked his own instruments. The readings confirmed what he dreaded. The human ship had not only achieved faster than light travel, but had done it more efficiently than Veltar technology could manage. Return to Earth orbit, he commanded quietly. During the return journey, Choi Ji-won approached Dr. Yoon Seo-hyun privately. How long have you been working on this technology? We started the theoretical work immediately after your demonstration, Yoon Seo-hyun replied honestly. The engineering phase took about 6 weeks. 6 weeks? Choi Ji-won couldn't hide her shock. It took our civilization 3 millennia to develop stable warp drives. Different approaches lead to different timelines. Your method prioritizes stability and safety. Ours prioritizes adaptability and efficiency. Back in Earth orbit, Ambassador Kethamore faced the most difficult decision of his career. The humans had not just achieved faster than light travel, they had potentially revolutionized